Well, good morning, and hello. I'm thrilled to be here with you,
Hi,
Andrea.
Gargee. It's great to be with you.
And we're here to talk about one of our favorite topics, building inclusive financial systems, creating economic mobility for women. As CEO of Grameen America, you do that here in this country. At the Gates Foundation, I'm thinking about that a lot internationally. But let's start with some basics. Tell us about your model at Grameen America. How are you building economic mobility for women, and what kind of results are you seeing?
Sure. Well, it's great to be here, and I like to think, and I hope to think that we are walking the talk in terms of inclusive growth right here in the United States. So Grameen America is a micro lender. We are in year now, I guess it'll be year 17. It began in 2008. Here in the United States in Jackson Heights, Queens, and is today in 38 locations, 29 cities.
Oh, wow.
And we've given out $5.3 billion of loan capital to about 240,000 U.S. low-income women entrepreneurs. So it's been an exciting journey to scale. The first $1 billion that we give out took us 10 years, so it did take some time for the model, which really was incepted in Bangladesh, the Grameen Bank, but a lot of people were skeptical whether it would work here in the US, and it has. So it took us 10 years to disperse the first billion, and then the second billion was like 36 months, and then the third billion was 18 months, and then last year we dispersed $1 billion in 280 days. So that is sort of the scale of the program, which I think really speaks to the need. What it speaks about is the absolute opportunity to offer women, entrepreneurs, particularly in low-income communities, fair access to capital, training, support. We teach them how to save, so asset building is very important. Credit building is extremely important. Most of our members, after just 6 months, have a credit score of over 650, and 20% of them receive a prime credit score. And these are people who've come with no credit or poor credit before they join the program. And this, to me, between credit, asset building, as well, are many parts of the program in addition to the loan capital itself. So it's been quite an incredible journey. I think one statistic I would say is that after 15 plus years, in all these cities across the United States, it is a 99.8% repayment rate on non-recourse loans. So I think trusting a woman to, when she earns $1, to be able to not only pay it back, but have the impact on community, on her children, on education, all the things that many of us know, but we get to see it live every single day here in the US, which is great.
I love that story about 10 years for the first billion, 36 months for the last.
Yeah.
Because it also reminds us that this is a hard business to stand up. And it's hard to be an entrepreneur in the best of circumstances. When you are outside the financial system and have to prove yourself, it's even harder. For us internationally, technology was a game changer in that story. It was digital financial inclusion, actually, that allowed us to reach more women with more products and services at an affordable cost than we ever thought possible.
Yeah.
Tell me how technology, AI, digital is changing your business.
Same thing as you've experienced internationally. There is just absolutely no way we would be able to do what I just told you, is to disperse $1 billion in 290 days without technology. I think the technology platforms, both for the enterprise but also for our members, has been a total game changer. And without that, it couldn't have happened. Interestingly, for many of us in the organization early on when it started, it was interesting to see that internationally there seemed to be actually more mobile and digital advances in financial inclusion space than there were here in the United States. And it felt like we had to catch up some, but we've had extraordinary partnerships to be able to basically, when I came to Grameen America, everything was cash and paper, believe it or not. And there was a lot of thought that, well, a lot of these members and these small businesses around the United States are cash businesses, so they don't have a computer at home. And what we've been able to see, really, it's been inspiring to watch the complete transformation of our members to completely using mobile banking, if you would. That's been an extraordinary from to. So we went from all paper, all cash to no paper, no cash, to a cloud-based system to recently a member app. It is iOS and Android, Grameen America, My Grameen app, where in a very short amount of time we have 99+% of our members, so over 108,000 active borrowers right now on this app, on the average of about almost three times a week. And when you think about that, and they use it for their loan and so many other, and managing with their centers, et cetera, it's an extraordinary take-up. But it's been game-changing for them. I think for us, though, the model has been an interesting combination of trust and technology. And so high tech and high touch is really the alchemy at Grameen. And I think particularly for a segment that has some distrust of the formal financial markets, et cetera, as they've come into this pathway to financial inclusion, everything including technology, it's been something that the people in the organization, our relationship managers, and the high-touch aspect have helped them not only get comfortable, but being able to trust it. And that combination has been great. I think when we look forward, and AI hasn't democratized itself to any huge extent yet with this cohort, but I have no doubt that it will play a role. But I think the fact that we've got people involved, trusted people, relationship managers that work with our members makes a huge difference. Each loan officer at Grameen, we call them relationship managers, manages up to 500 entrepreneurs every single week, and they're coming together on a Zoom. I think we have 3,100 Zoom meetings of 30 entrepreneurs each every single week. And it's an extraordinary thing to jump in on one of these meetings because the peer support and the peer community and advice, in addition to the kind of training and education that they may get from our staff, is critically important. And they're really embracing the technology, but they trust it because they trust our people. So it's a nice combination.
That tech and trust combo I see in the international work too. I was in India not long ago and was sitting with a group of village women who were showing me on their phones almost a competition of lenders trying to offer them tiny, these are farmers, village farmers, tiny loans to smooth income across their farming season. And they had their pick of lenders, which was amazing. But that alone wouldn't work without the women's cooperative that was building trust, sharing information, trading stories about I had a bad experience with this guy, don't go with that, go with this group. And that combination, is reinforcing and empowering for the women themselves, but is also increasing their trust of the financial system.
100%. I think it is, as you said, it's that combination, which makes it very magical. I remember right after COVID, hopping on one of these calls, it was in the Bronx, and one member was telling the other, so it's a peer-to-peer, she was saying, you have a food cart business, but people are coming back to work now, but you've got to move 4 blocks west and 3 blocks north, because that's where people have moved. And that peer advice and sharing was invaluable. There's no technology probably that could have told them the exact same thing. So as much as we are tech enabling them, and that's absolutely crucial to our scale, this person-to-person social collateral.
All parts of society.
Everywhere, internationally and here,
everywhere.
Right here in the United States in our backyard, right?
Let's talk about the gender piece, because the reality is the businesses you and I start, the kind of leaders we are somehow systematically less trusted by the financial system. And that's despite all the evidence. You talked about repayment rates. We could talk about the success of businesses. We could talk about the jobs we create. And yet, we know there is a persistent gender gap in access to finance and financial services. It drives me crazy. Yeah. Tell me what you think needs to happen, in addition to all of us doing the work we're doing. Yeah. How do we change the system?
I mean, I am with you on the fact that it drives me crazy too. So we'll start there. The facts are from 2019 to 2024, so that's inclusive of the pandemic, women-run businesses grew at 17.5%. Men-run businesses grew at 5%. In just the last year, from 23 to 24, women-run businesses grew over 4% compared to an 0.1% for male counterparts. So it's not even about, it's not an equity strategy, it's an economic
Bad business.
strategy. It's just
Yeah.
bad business for the United States. So in spite of what I would say is outsized actual factual growth by women-owned businesses, the paltry is the only word I could use, percentage of capital continues to be a problem. And that was even true whether you look at PPP loans during the pandemic, but I think it was $1 out of $23 was given to a woman entrepreneur in 2019. I mean, that's 4%. That's across all tiers. So certainly when you look at low-income tiers or some of the communities that we serve, whether it's internationally or here in the United States, it doesn't even register on the radar screen, and yet these businesses are growing. If women-owned businesses got the same kind of capital and grew at the same rate, it would create $8 trillion of GDP. So, I mean, again, it's just math. I think we have to figure out how to have more cross-sector collaboration specifically on this issue. I don't think it is just organizations like ours. I think it takes the private sector. I think it takes, public policy, but it is everybody working together to make sure that is an intentionality. I mean, that's what we are trying to do. CDFIs, I mean, it's obviously not just for women, but I think the role of community development financial institutions have long played a very important role to reach underserved communities, whether it's gender or race. And I think that continues to have to be a very important part of how we make sure there's that even distribution or fair distribution of capital, because it is a basic human right. And I still look at the access being disproportionately inadequate, and that has to stop. And then just the education about this. I mean, it's not sort of the moral imperative of what to do. It's just, to your point, it's just economic sense. It is the fastest way to grow U.S. and global GDP. I remember that, Mukhtar Kent from Coca-Cola one time, he said the fastest growing emerging market in the world is not a country, it's women. And I remember that struck me, and it's true, that is a global truth and a U.S. truth, and we see it here in the United States. 29 cities. It doesn't matter if it's Birmingham or if it's Fresno, California, or Charlotte, North Carolina. City after city, what I continue to see is that if we give women just the equal access to capital, so it is a hand up, not a hand out, what they are able to do and to prove with just tiny bits of capital. I mean, our loans on average are $6,000. Our first-time loans for women are $2,500. People ask me, probably the number one question I get is, what in the world can you do with $2,500 in the United States of America?
Start a business.
And you can start a business. We have 240,000 stories of people who've been able to have financial, not just stability, but mobility, moving up and out of poverty, because that is the American dream. There was a woman who was a cleaning lady, and she had clients that trusted her. She worked for them for years, and one of them gave her a credit card and said, at some point today, a professional cleaning service is going to come in and clean the carpets. Do you mind just giving them the credit card? And when she saw and signed for it how much they charged, she took out a Grameen loan and went to the Home Depot and bought carpet cleaning equipment. And today, she runs a rental equipment business. She doesn't clean houses anymore, and she has a lot of employees, and the rest is history. But it just takes, it's innovative. To me, if you can combine the access to capital with the digital skills and the technology, which are critical, and in our case, the social capital and the trust of people who care and understand and, they feel are not going to be about the tiny fine print and the distrust that does exist. It's a It's a pretty powerful combination, and I think it can really move us into a very different place.
Great. So as you can tell, we're just getting warmed up, but we are out of time. So we will leave you with good economics and a little bit of inspiration. Thank you.
Thank you. Thank you.